Hello, I'm Coach Ray. Welcome to this video about the Human Go plan screen and training week.
Your plan is the location that holds all of the information about your training. First thing to note is that we've defaulted to a monthly view here, but if you would like to see your training by week, you can switch that to week view here. Based on what week or month you would like to view, you can also come on down here and using the drop-down menu, specify the month or even the year that you would like to view. And if you would like to be very specific by week, you can also select the date here, and that will bring you directly to that week of training. What you'll also notice on the training calendar here is a weather icon for your local weather. You'll notice what phase you are in. You'll see that you can replan this week only with a simple selection of the Replan This Week button. And on the right-hand side, you'll notice that there are totals for the week also broken down by sport. And if you want to view those in a different way, you can select duration, distance, or load. At this point, I'm having that displayed as load, but we can switch that to duration and you'll see the values change here. On this page, I can also select to take a day off, and I can easily drag and drop a workout right here. Also relating to how you view your training, there is a summary schedule at the very top that you can filter. First of all, you would select the date that you would want that filtered by, and then you can select what you would like to see here. Fitness, fatigue, stress, sleep, weight, resting heart rate, calories, active, and the subjective scores that you enter based on how you feel on a daily basis, as well as how you perceive your workouts have gone. You can filter that by date by selecting the drop down here, or simply selecting the date that you would like to view. At the top right hand of the screen, you'll also see for this date range the specific max training hours that have been applied to that training week and the number of sports sessions for that week specifically. I'm going to come back to the monthly view here. Okay, so now that we've had a look at how to view your training, a high overview, let's look at your training week, or consider it your routine training specific for a goal. You can see Hugo's still doing its thing there, updating my training plan all the way through. We will go to one of two places to edit my training routine for my goal. The first place is the very top here, edit training week. And the other option will be through the goals option, which is this icon a little bit further to the right here. I'm going to show you how to edit your training week from the edit training week icon to begin. So you can see here, I have my max training hours set at 10.5. I have each of the numbers of sessions per sport outlined here in a summary. I can turn the days on and off for training here, and I can do a simple drag and drop from this menu as well. Important to note, making it super easy to see the training week for each of these goals, I can simply select the next goal or any goal that I want to view for that matter, and I can edit the specific training week for each of those up and coming goals as well. In addition to the drag and drop, I can add a workout here. In this example, I'm adding a running session. I can make it a regular or a long session. I can specify the training zone that I would like that to default to, or focus on, I should say. I'm going to use default here because that's what Hugo is going to default to based on my energy distribution and my sport distribution. And I can specify too if this is going to be a Wahoo workout or not. I can set the max duration if I would like to here. At the moment you can see default displayed, but I can set it to manual if I want. And keep that at default. And I can specify if that is a brick or a group session. So what you'll see here is simply another run session being added. My total hours of training has just gone up. The number of run sessions per week has just increased, and the new workout has been added to the program here. From here, I can also edit that workout. I'll come back to that later on in the video, and I can delete it as well. Now, if I want to get very specific and override Hugo's recommendations for each of these time slots that I've allocated for each of my sports in my training week, I can select the magic icon up here and go for a deep dive into the absolutes of how this training week is set up for me for this goal. So I can go easier if I want. I can go with the ideal for me, and I can go with 10.5, which is suggesting that that's a little harder training. Or I can set a custom value here as well. I'm going to go with go harder. As I work my way through this menu, I can then edit each of the sports. I can change the number of sports, sessions per week for this training goal or for this racing goal. I can edit the regular session duration here. I can set it as default. This is Hugo's values showing up here for each of the phases. I can go manual or by phase. See, manual or by phase. A little bit more detail involved there, but I'm breaking it down, basically saying in each of these different phases, I want my regular session for running to be as specified. I'm going to move that back to default. I can do the same for my long session for that sport, for this goal. Same options here. And I can work my way down this menu for each of the sports, changing those specifics for my training week for that goal. And then I just simply ask Hugo to generate my weekly routine. I'm going to save that. And Hugo's going to ask me what weeks I would like that applied to. So I can select all, continue, continue. And then Hugo's going to go to work to create my goal for me, or my training for me for my goal. Okay, so over and above editing your training week or your training routine specific to each of your goals, there are other aspects of living day to day as an endurance athlete that might impact your training. There's a couple of things or extra actions that we need to know about here. If I go to add, I can add a past activity, something that maybe wasn't recorded or a file that wasn't captured through a wearable and transferred into HumanGo. So I can add a past activity here, upload from my computer, or just manually add in the specifics here. That obviously will change the calculations of the training load based on past activity. If I go to configure here and select availability, this is availability over and above your routine training week specific to your goal. From here, you can see the past work family and default rest periods that Hugo has integrated into my training schedule, and the ones that might be up and coming as well. But if I go to add availability here, I can add an injury, sickness, or force a recovery phase by adding an injury, I can give it a name here. I can select the body part. I can tell Hugo over what time frame would I like it to consider these specifics given that I have an injury. So at the moment the default is no training, but I can turn training on here. I can change the maximum number of hours for training. For the week, I can change the number of sports sessions for this time frame per week. And I can specify to Hugo if I would like to cap the total time for each of those sports and if I would like it to be low intensity. And I can turn sports off. So when I add that to my schedule, Hugo is going to take those training specifics into account and replan. The same goes for a sickness. I can pop in a name, I can give the time range or the date range I would like this applied to, and the same thing goes here. Or simply I can turn training off, and given the date range that I've specified, Hugo would remove all training for me so that I can get back to full health. The last one up here is a recovery. And this would be if you're feeling excessively fatigued, something's happened in life, something's popped up and you just need to take some rest days or days off training. Might not necessarily be specifically for recovery, it might just be that you have to take a couple of days off. This is where you can do that. There might be other aspects to your day-to-day that call for other adjustments. One of them could simply be your fatigue tolerance or your ability to absorb and recover from the training load. So if I select training intensity and recovery, we have two options here. Fatigue tolerance, which determines how aggressive Hugo's ramp is as you build towards your next goal, and that load and recovery cycle. In this case, it's a 3 weeks load, 1 week recovery. But you can customize that based on these defaults here, or literally customize it based on the number of loading days and recovery days right here. A couple of additional useful actions that you might want to take from your plan screen can be selected from one here, the cog icon, range actions. You can either delete, lock, unlock, or export a range of workouts. And I'm just going to use delete as an example. I'm going to select my date range here. Select all sports, but I can be specific about what sports I would like to delete. And I can submit that to Hugo, and Hugo will delete all of the workouts in that date range. I can do the same for locking workouts, which means that if Hugo completes a replan, those workouts will be locked and will not be changed or moved. I can unlock the workouts, in which case Hugo has permission then to change or move those workouts around. And I could also be exporting a range of workouts from the library. I already showed you the weekly summary show as in the intro at the very beginning of this video, but just a quick little reminder. This is how you view the weekly summary here, also by week in the same view. And I can change it to load here as well. The last useful action that you might want to take that I haven't taken you through here yet is adding a performance assessment. So if I want to re-establish my thresholds or max heart rate for a given sport, I can do that here. I'm going to go with the threshold test for running. I have the option of 2 different tests here I can select. I can go based on a Hugo recommendation right here, or I can select a custom date from my calendar, submit that, and Hugo will automatically add that test to my training schedule and reallocate the training accordingly. Talking of adding a performance test to my schedule, let's talk about what it means to replan. If I'm not defaulting to Hugo constantly readjusting and I'm manually doing a replan, this is the action I'm going to take. I'm going to select the date range for my replanning. I can go with a custom date and select replan. That will send Hugo to work to allow for all of those adjustments and additions that I've made to my routine training week for my corresponding goal. Okay, now for some fun. Let's have a look at adjusting workouts. I'm going to select the little dumbbell icon up here, workouts icon. And what this is going to do is bring up access for me to the workout library. I can do this by the month view, and I can also do this on the week view. I mentioned earlier in this video that all of the features that you can see both on the monthly and weekly view are the same. But what I can do here is either add a new workout, so bring in an additional workout to my calendar, or I can replace a workout. I can filter by my sport, and I want something that includes endurance. 12-minute endurance, and I can scroll on down here to see the different options that I have available to me, and then scroll to the right to see the different versions of those workouts. If I want to get very specific, I can also come into the filter option, and I can filter that by distance, duration, elevation, and terrain to help me choose the appropriate workout for what I want. And then once I have it, I'm simply going to drag and drop it into my training routine. I can close that out here. And now I have a new workout added to my training week. So over and above using the workouts icon to add a new workout to my schedule, I can also edit a workout. Important to note there's a difference between the functions in editing a workout in the future and one from the past. Let's start with one from the past. This is my bike ride from yesterday. I can edit the info here. So if I am not confident in the values that have come through from my wearable, or in fact the wearable just didn't capture the entire workout, I can change the details here, save that, and that will update that workout. In this situation, I uploaded a file from my desktop from Velocity. So what I did here was to add that past activity. I selected past activity, uploaded it from my desktop, added that to Human Go, and Hugo automatically linked that to this workout card here. So I can unlink that if I choose. I can exclude that from my analytics. I can combine that with another activity, export the activity, or delete it. So they're the functions for a past activity. Looking forward to a future activity. You can see this one here has been locked because it's been edited. I'm going to unlock it. Not that I have to right now, but I'm just going to show you that because it's just another action that you might want to undertake to unlock any workout that you've added to your schedule. When a workout is locked, it means that Hugo will not override it. Hugo will keep that in the same location, won't replace it, won't move it. But nonetheless, if I'm looking at editing that workout, I can select the version of that workout, maybe something a little bit harder here. I can add a note in here. I can set the default time and change the date if I want. I can set the default Guided biometric, I mentioned that earlier, being able to set the global setting at the sport level, but you can also change that at the workout level. So I'm going to save that there. So I've edited that workout, basically changed it to another version, a longer index of that workout from the workout family. Now it's locked, it's telling Hugo not to change it. But like I showed you before, I can unlock that easy enough. The next action I can undertake for an up-and-coming workout is changing the workout out. So I can select from the workout family here another version of that workout, or down here I can ask Hugo for a suggestion, or I can select from the workout library. Going to the workout library filter again, it's just allowing me to select the distance that I might be looking at, the duration ideally I would like to train, the elevation and the terrain. So I can set those variables if I want. Search for the workout. And let's see here. This looks like a good one right here. Select. And add that to the current card, replacing the existing workout with the new one. I can only do that by sport, by the way. I cannot replace a bike ride, for example, with a run. I would need to delete this workout and add a run if that was what I was looking at doing. I can edit my training configuration for this session if I want to be very specific for this session. This is separate to adjusting my routine training week for my goal. So if I save that here, that's specifying those training configurations for that workout. I can duplicate that and set that up for the next Friday, say for example. Although in this case would probably not be a good idea because it's the day before a race. So I can easily delete that here. Another way to edit the workout is to invite somebody. So if I have a friend in Human Go, I want to have them add that workout to their schedule, maybe join me on the road or join me on a virtual ride. I can do that. I can push it to a third party if that's the case, and I can also print that workout. I can export it, change the guided by, click through here, lock it or delete it completely.